The enhancement when it comes to working with blocks is that you can now move the content of multiple blocks to one layer by just using one command. Because previously, up to Caddie 28, if you go to your modify block arrays, you had a command that says change layer of objects in blocks. You indicate the destination layer, you say OK, but then Caddie asks you, indicate block to change object layer. So then you have to go and click on each and every block. So what I'm going to show you now is, in this drawing, if I just select the content, there's 1038 blocks. So that's going to take a while for go and click on each and every one. So before I'm going to show you the enhancement, let's just recap when it comes to the basics for using layers in your blocks. Now in this drawing, if I'm going to select the content, you will see it's 6 polylines. Now each and every polyline is on a different layer. The ones, they are on layer 1. The twos, they are on layer 2, and the threes on layer number 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to create 2 blocks. First of all, let's make it interesting. I'm on layer 8, that's my active layer. So if I'm going to select the content, I'm going to right click and I'm going to ask Caddie to make a block. What will happen is as follows. First, you're going to give it a name, let's call it the block 1. And I'm going to ask Caddie to use the center point of objects for my origin, and on the right hand side, allow exploding. So I'm going to say OK. If I select my block, left click, Caddie will tell you block reference 1, and now have a look and see. We're going to go to layer display now. In this dialog, if I go to layer number 0, it shouldn't display anything. If I go to layer 1, it displays the content of layer 1. If I go to 2 and 3, it displays the content. If I go to layer 8, it won't show anything because the content is on layer 1 up to 3. So if I'm going to say all, select all. If I select the block, the origin or the control point of the block is on layer number 8, but the content is on layer 1, 2 and 3. So let's create another block. If I'm going to select the content, I'm going to right click, I'm going to go down to make, I'm going to say make block. Let's call this one block 2. I'm going to use the origin still in the center, but this time I'm going to ask Caddie move the objects to layer 0. So as soon as I'm going to say OK, once again, have a look and see my active layer remains layer 8. So I'm going to say OK. I'm going to left click just so you can see become a block reference. Now let's have a look and see. So if I go to layer display, go to layer 0, there's nothing. 1, there's nothing. 2, nothing. Because the content is actually on layer number 8. So that's when it comes to the rule that if you move the content of a block to layer 0, it will look at what is your active layer or where the origin of the block is, and it will display the content on that layer. So that's what we're going to do now in this exercise. Now different colors present different layers. So if I go to my layer set, you'll see that the colors that you can see here, green, yellow, cyan, etc. Those are the dedicated pen color for that layer. I just go to layer display and I'm going to toggle through the layers. Once again, as you can see, select the first one, and as I go through, it will display all the blocks on different layers. So we're going to move all the content of those blocks to layer 0. So I'm going to say select all, and we're going to say OK. So I can either go Control A and go and select the blocks, or you can select the content and you can select the blocks. Now once the blocks are selected, I'm going to right click, I'm going to go down to block, and this is where the new command is in the list, and it says change layers of objects in block. Caddie will ask us the destination layer, that will be on layer 0. I'm going to say OK, and as soon as I'm going to press R for regen, now you will see that all those blocks become white because under my layer set I've asked Caddie when it comes to the content on layer 0, the color need to be white. And on a more practical sample, as I start off with this video, is that if I'm going to say Control A now, and in my object properties, I'm going to ask Caddie to display the blocks for me, or keep the block selected. I can right click, I go down to blocks, I'm going to ask Caddie to change the layer of objects in blocks, we move it to layer 0, I'm going to say OK. And there we go. So I'll just change back. As you can see, if I go and select one of those blocks in my object properties, the layer confirms layer 0. And if I go to layer display and I go to layer 0, then there's all my blocks. Now that's another enhancement, that when it comes to working with blocks, is that when you pack a drawing, because at the moment I know that those blocks were on different layers. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask Caddie to pack the drawing. I go down, I'm going to say pack drawing. I'm going to pack the layers. I'm going to say pack. And now we should sit with only a few layers. I'm going to say OK, and on the top left hand side, as you can see, now we end up with only 3 layers because the content has been moved to layer 0, and when you pack a drawing, Caddie get rid of all the unused layers.